Neat Nation, welcome back to the Droopy Whiskey Show, where tonight, or this morning, if you're watching this in the morning, I'm going to take things to the next level. I mean, I try and ride a high level all the time, no laying up, never stopping, never backing down. Hard work, determination. I'm never stopping today as we go whole hog. We shoot the moon here. I have done episodes in the past on Stagg Jr., on Blantons. What's the deal with those particular brands? Fun videos, for sure. Well, tonight, we're going a little face-off between Stagg Jr. and Blantons straight from the barrel. That is right. In today's episode, we are popping this. Stagg Jr. is relatively straightforward. It's barrel-proof Buffalo Trace. You know, it's decently aged, probably average 8 years old. Robust, full, fruity, delicious, sweet, oaky, brown sugary, grapey, cherry-y, slightly floral, and delightful. But Blanton straight from the barrel, while it comes from Buffalo Trace, is a little bit different. It's the high rye mash bill, the barely high rye mash bill. Maybe it'll be a little spicier. How will it compare to Stagg Jr.? I have no idea. One thing worth noting, this is a single barrel, so there's going to be some difference here where this is a small batch product. We'll talk more about this in a second. First, if you haven't subscribed, please do that. That'd be nice. It'd be kind of you. That's your way of participating in what's going on. You can also join Neat Nation. You can join the community. Patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. That's how you can support the show, get access to some rad barrel picks. There have been several, and there will, of course, be more. Targeting 6 next year. That's the goal. You can also follow along on Instagram @DrewPWhiskey. That's the business. That's all I have. Plenty more content over on my channel, so that's why you should subscribe. It's actually good for you, and it's free. That's the nice thing about YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything. So, back to this face-off here. It's no secret I love Stagg Jr., and I'm fine on Blantons. If you watch my video, What's the Deal with Blantons, which I'll link down below in the show notes, as I will my What's the Deal with Stagg Jr. video, as well as some other Buffalo Trace content. I like Blantons. It's fine, but it feels like it needs some more heft. Standard Blantons is coming in at 93 proof, whereas Blanton straight from the barrel, this one's 120, almost 124 proof, 61.95% alcohol by volume. That's encouraging. I mean, that's a proof junkie's level here. I mean, my ideal proof is probably a little bit lower than that, but I love Elijah Craig barrel proofs, and those things hit. Those pack a wallop. So, curious to see how this is going to taste. I've been holding on to this bottle for a while. They are very difficult to find. You don't get these just off the shelf. This one is actually, I think, a European release, or maybe somebody got it on a cruise. I traded for it quite a while ago now. So, it's my only one. It's kind of a precious, it's one of my bangers, one of my precious bottles, so I haven't been eager to open it up, but I wanted to drop some spicy content. Figured this is about as spicy as it gets, right? Well, we'll see. Gonna use some Kinsey tasters. I got one from Middle West Spirits and our Entry Proof Podcast tasters. The Stagg Jr. will go in the Entry Proof Podcast. And the Blanton straight from the barrel. Let's open this thing up. I love the wax on these things. Call me a tater, but I just love the Blanton's bottle. I do. It's harder than it looks to do one-handed. Nice gold wax on here. Delightful. Alright, ready for the bottle pop? Hopefully this sounds... Let's get the mic in here for this. Not bad. Like a good, like a little juicy. The cork was a little bit wet because I was handling it. Smells good. Alright, dropping some Blanton straight from the barrel and the Middle West Spirits Kinsey taster. Now the battle begins. Going on a visual inspection, which obviously isn't going to tell me everything I want to know about the palate. But I will say the Stagg Jr. looks a little bit darker coming out of the tube. What that might signal to me is oaky presence. Given that these are both barrel strength, it's going to tell me nothing about dilution. On the nose, the Stagg being as high proof as it is, 130.2, it does not sniff that high proof. Of course, you get some alcoholic presence of an alcoholic, but you get a decent amount of fruitiness, some leatheriness, fruit leather. Maybe it's fruit and leather, or it's fruit leather. Who's to say? In the cherry plum region, grapiness is always like kind of present standard Buffalo Trace note, and this hits like standard Buffalo Trace on the nose, just turned up a little hotter. It's got some zest compared to your everyday 90 proof Buffalo Trace. Compared to that, this is a much more mellow nose. This'll come at you. It's the linebacker, whereas this is a special teams position player. I may have just shot my nose. I mean, this is like lighter, fresher. I mean, whereas this is like dried cherry pie sweetness. This one is not nearly so deep. It's like cherry off the tree with some lime, like a cherry limeade. The nose is much more difficult to discern in the Blanton straight from the barrel. If I'm trying to assess this off the nose, I'm thinking this Blanton's product is going to be a little bit more delicate because it's so much more difficult to discern nasally. So I'm going to taste it first, so I don't blow my palate away with this Stagg Jr. It is spicier, a little mustier than Stagg Jr. I'm going to have to work with this one a little bit. Almost surprising on the palate. Nice, I gotta say that. Like, not sorry at all to be drinking it. I honestly, like I said, I didn't know what to expect with this. This is in like the dark honey, whereas I was saying brown sugar kind of sweetness in the Stagg Jr. We're taking it into the B category here. And we've got kind of this dark honey, a floral. Like, it reminds me of a cranberry blossom honey, which tasted nothing like cranberries that we used at Stone Creek Coffee to make a drink once back in the day. Just this really nice, slippery, viscous, kind of honeysuckle with this big kind of caramelized honey profile. Really nice. Still not getting much on the nose at all. It starts a little bit thin, but then it develops as it goes back through the palate, and then the finish is really, really nice. My goodness. Finish just goes on for days. It's almost my favorite part. Like, killer finish. Like, I just ate a spoonful of honey that I got at a farmer's market and I paid too much for. This is alcoholic honey. It's got some wood. I mentioned that front kind of starts a little bit thin, and then you're introduced to some barrel. Not really deep. Like, the oak is there. Like, this clearly spent some time in a barrel. It's not young. It's not immature. But it's also not old. It doesn't taste like an old bourbon. And I like an old bourbon. So if a bourbon gives me characteristics of age, I'm really into that. This one tastes like a super high quality bourbon that's not old. So if you're not into big oaky notes, but you like a really nice sweetness with a good barrel proof punch, yeah. Let's hit the palate on the Stagg Jr. now. This is delivering more of that age character that I tend to dig. It's not as sweet on the palate, but it also is fruitier. Whereas this one's more floral, this one's more fruity. They're both very good, but quite different in profile, at least between this small batch and this single barrel. There's bound to be some variance, but most Blantons I've had, even single barrel picks, kind of taste like Blantons. So I'd be surprised if there was a whole crap ton of variance in the straight from the barrel barrels that they did as well. The stone fruit that I mentioned on the nose carries through in the palate. Really, really grapey. Like grape soda and bourbon cherries with oak. A little drying on the finish. The finish isn't as like sitting in a field of bees and magnolia trees like this one is. This one kicked you a little bit But man, it was a delightful kick. If you like being kicked in certain ways, and it does something for you, this would be your, whatever the person who whips you is called. That's kind of what the Stagg Junior would be. Whereas this is more of a, it's a tender cuddle. Ooh. Going back to the nose now, the floral is popping. It's been sitting there a little bit. It's taking me back to standard Buffalo Trace, but the sweetness is, I mean, it's level 9 kind of sweetness. And then the flowers is just, it's welcome. Like, I like that this is actually very different from this. Choosing one that I like better is going to be a little bit of a booger, but they're quite different whiskeys that are both very, very good in their own right. It's like if I could take the front half of this whiskey and the back half of this one, I mean, it's the perfect bourbon at that point. Maybe I'll blend them. That'd be fun. Maybe I'll do that. So nose is winning on the Stagg. Front is winning on the Stagg. Middle and back is probably winning straight from the barrel. Now I have to choose. I don't mean to keep you guys here all night, all morning, all whenever you're watching this. Such a delightful little... One note before I try and choose a winner here. Both these whiskeys are quite hard to get. In my What Bourbon Should You Buy from Buffalo Trace series, I did Mash Bill 1 and Mash Bill 2. I think I was taking Stagg Junior these days up to 100 and hemming and hawing up to 125. I'll probably still get it at 125 actually, so adjusting a little bit there. This I traded a Michter's 10 for. Again, rarity certainly plays in here. Michter's 10 cost me 150. So yeah, cost me basically 150. And I'm not sad about that. I really like Michter's 10, but given I couldn't get this otherwise, I was happy with the deal. You know, the secondary value on this is probably much more. It's been a while since I checked. Wouldn't surprise me if it set you back 225 to 250 at least, given the fact that Stagg Junior is basically setting you back that if you want it on the secondary market. That just seems like a lot. They're good, but I do know that there is as good or better whiskey available on the shelf that I passed on today, actually, at liquor stores for less. So I'm definitely a buy in the 0 to 150-ish range on these, probably a little bit less on the Stagg. But if I'm seeing it at retail, I'm getting all of it. I won't clear the shelf, though. That's mean. That's rude. Final sips and then picking a winner here. The deep, fruity heft of Stagg Junior makes me lean this way. I think generally, on any given day, that time in the barrel calls to me, resonates with me, speaks to my soul. And so I got to give it to Stagg Junior. Not to poo-poo at all on Blanton straight from the barrel. If I was just a review of this one, I'd say, hey, it's pretty dang good. And if you can get it, you should probably do that. Nation, thanks for watching. Hope you dug that little taste off, little comparison, little battle, little war. There's a lot more where that came from. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and go watch my other videos where you can educate yourself. Find out a lot about whiskey, hopefully. Then tune in on Thursday nights where I team up with Brian Bikey from Abandoned Bourbon and we live stream and we talk about things and we taste things and it's a good time. So get involved, y'all. Till then, y'all have a good rest of your day. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep it neat.